Just near the Indiana-Illinois border, like I was saying before. This is the site of the worst earthquake in Indiana history, but that was back in 1909. This is not an area known for seismic activity. As we'll zoom in a little bit closer into this area, this just came in from the USGS. It looks like it actually occurred in Illinois, just on the other side of the Mississippi. We got the interstates up there. This is, of course, 64, just above Evansville, and the radius from that, the shock from that actually traveled into Nashville as well. We've been getting a lot of reports, especially across our
full coverage on that. Again, an earthquake here in the area that has been felt in Middle Tennessee. We'll be right back with the 5 o'clock hour of News 2 this morning.
It's got 403 horsepower. It can tow 8,000 pounds. Seats 7.
Good morning to you. I guess the phone started blowing up here about 15 minutes ago with people calling in saying they felt something overnight, and sure enough, you did. There was an earthquake that happened in southern Illinois just a very short time ago. And those effects are being felt right here in Middle Tennessee. We've talked to people in Springfield. Also, Erica Simmons, our producer in Bellevue, told us that this woke her up out of bed. Erica, thank you for staying with us. You're still here on the phone with us. And you were saying that you used to live in California. You've gone through this before. Describe to us the difference between some of the earthquakes you've been in and what you felt this morning.
Good morning, guys. Essentially, the earthquake that I felt today was a shaking back and forth, more of kind of a jarring motion. The earthquakes that I'm used to more out in California, Southern California is where I'm from, is more of a rolling. You kind of roll with it a little bit like a wave. This one was much more back and forth motion, I'm assuming because we are so landlocked. But I would put it in comparison of things that I have been involved with in California, that the impact here south of that Indiana line, I would put it at less than a 3.0, but obviously something that had the force to wake people up and get them out of bed.
And Erica, describe what happened at your house. Were things shaking, falling off the shelves? Obviously, it woke you up.
Well, at this point, I think I live kind of out in the country a little bit and am in kind of a secluded area, so it wasn't to the point, I think, where I'm going to see any sort of damage, but it was enough to hear rattling around, hear things shaking, obviously something that doesn't normally occur out here.
Erica, and we've gotten calls from Mount Juliet, from south of Nashville. Obviously, Julie mentioned Springfield there. It lasted a very short time. You felt anything since the initial tremor?
I have not at this point since then. And I would put it, I was actually surprised by the length. I was thinking, I was putting in around 10 to 12 seconds, which for me was something that's kind of an aftershock of a tornado, I'm used to saying tornado in this area.
Right.
Of an earthquake, usually it's something that lasts much quicker. I would put it at normally 8-7 seconds, but 12, it was enough for me to actually have time to think about, oh my gosh, this is an earthquake.
And Erica, you mentioned that you live out in the country is how you referred to it. Have you noticed, do you have any neighbors? Has anyone else, had any reaction, felt the same things that you felt this morning?
I'm sure that they have felt what I have felt, but I'm not seeing a lot of windows with lights in them at this point. I imagine, though, that it was the running joke in California is anything less than 3.0 doesn't get you out of bed. And it was enough. It was enough to wake me up. Yeah, this has gotten a lot of people out of bed. Erica, thank you very much. If we can take the newsroom computer real quick, I can show you the USGS map that's updated here by the minute. And you can see, there's a picture of the country, and smack dab in the middle there in southern Illinois and southern Indiana, that big square indicates that the event happened within the past hour, and also the size of the square indicates that this was a magnitude 5 or greater earthquake, which is fairly significant right now. So we're continuing to call up to news agencies in the Evansville area right now and southern Illinois area to see what they experience and what type of damage they may have actually felt.
And we're continuing to receive phone calls from all across Middle Tennessee of people who have felt the effects from this morning. Joining us now live this morning is Betty Haxton. She's joining us from Waverly. Betty, describe what you felt this morning.
Well, I was in the bathroom getting dressed, and all of a sudden it sounded like somebody was falling all over the house. And I knew that couldn't be possible. But about 5 minutes before that, all the dogs across the street just were barking and barking and barking. And then it stopped in about 30 seconds. But then I realized it had to be something other than somebody falling all over the house.
Betty, living in Middle Tennessee, what was going through your head? I mean, how long did it take for it to register that this could possibly be an earthquake here in Tennessee?
It took me a good 10 seconds because I thought it was my husband getting up, falling. And then I realized it was much worse than that.
So you said that the dogs were barking. What else happened in your house? Were things falling off the shelves?
Nothing really, thankfully.
It's amazing, Betty. I mean, how you wake up and you have to process that you actually have an earthquake going on.
Right. Well, I was awake. I had been up about 15 minutes. I was getting dressed, and all of a sudden, like I had the door shut in the bathroom, and I heard it's shaking, and I thought it was my husband getting up, and then I realized it was much more than that, and it took a few seconds for it to realize. Then I came in here and turned on the two, and I realized what was happening.
Yeah, a lot of people say it almost sounds like a jet sometimes, some of these earthquakes do, the way it kind of the rumbling noise kind of moves through the area.
No, it wasn't even that. It was just like somebody falling against the wall. It was just all over the house, and then I realized it couldn't be just one person. So.
Just an incredible event. Betty, thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. Y'all have a good day.
You too.
Thank you, you too. And it's nice to hear. We haven't had anyone calling in and talking about any injuries, anything along those lines at this point. Just a lot of startled people.
Just a little unsettling experience, yeah, especially so early. You wonder what in the world is going on. Did something explode near my house? Did something go on? This is a zoomed-in map of the USGS map, and you can just see in proximity to Nashville, and again, Jeff mapped it out for us just a little while ago, about 200 miles to our north was where this 5.0 earthquake, or 5.4 earthquake, actually was registered. And let's bring Jeff into this discussion here, because you're kind of getting some of the data in over there, because the USGS and National Weather Service kind of work together on these events.
Yeah, they sent out bulletins, of course. The seismic charts and registers are all over the country, especially as you center in the New Madrid Fault. Now, it's interesting to note that where this earthquake occurred is only about 40 miles away from where the worst earthquake in Indiana history occurred in 1909. So this is an area with a history of earthquake activity. It's just very sporadic, to say the least, as in something that happens more like every 50 years or so. Now, this area, the New Madrid area, down across the boot hill of Missouri from Paducah down to Memphis, we all know about. And the New Madrid Fault, actually the area of seismic activity centered in on the New Madrid area, does extend up into the river, up towards above Evansville. So it's not unheard of to have an earthquake in this area. As I've said, though, they are extremely rare, and given the limestone beds and the way they're kind of laid out, I would imagine that north of Nashville probably got more of a rocking than anywhere. And that was a very astute observation, that the nature of the earthquake showed that it was pretty far away. It was not a wave actually felt in the ground, but more of a shaking on normally weaker earthquakes further away produce that type of brief shaking. We have somebody else who was going through this earthquake on the phone. Kelly?
Clarksville, Jeff, and obviously the farther north you get, the more shaking, I guess, I would imagine that you feel. Kelly, how are you this morning?
I'm good, thank you.
Just real quick, before we get to you, I just want to mention to people that we are getting the official reports that this was centered in West Salem, Illinois. A 5.4 earthquake happened just before 4:37. Which we felt, and that's when the phone calls started coming in. That's about the time you were woken up this morning, Kelly, right?
I was completely asleep, and I live on a second story of an apartment building, and it felt, I wasn't sure if it was wind or a panicking. I got out of bed and went to grab my son, and it was over. And everything outside was silent. So I kind of went to the window, and none of the trees or anything hadn't even budged. So I couldn't quite figure out what it was, and the birds started chirping again. And so I got on my computer, and that's when I saw that they had reported this earthquake in Illinois.
Yeah, it's just incredible. And the silence outside following an event like this is almost as disturbing as what happens when the actual earthquake is going on there. So everything's all right up there in Clarksville, just a little bit of a shake this morning, and you're just like everyone else, curious as to what happened here.
Absolutely, absolutely. I was just amazed, because I saw online that this earthquake had happened in Illinois, but I was just amazed that we were feeling the effects of it so far south, being in Clarksville, and I guess even as far as, Nashville and Bellevue, like you guys have been saying.
That is just amazing. Kelly Blankenship in Clarksville, we appreciate all the people we've talked to pretty much either in Nashville or north of Nashville, but I guess folks south of town